first image. Now, I am a fan of shooting through glass, especially steamed up glass. I've seen this done lots of occasions. I've practiced this myself. What I like about this image, just looking at it as is the abstractness of it. Yeah, I quite like that there is a subtle form that you can see coming through from behind the glass. Clearly, it's somebody there reading a newspaper. I like the way how the light has been used to create this image, with the kind of the etchings and the little marks on the glass there that kind of makes it. This is not a bad try. This is not a bad try at all, actually. And whoever did this, well done on that. My only suggestion would be on the balance of this, on the composition here, is it is leaning halfway onto the final third, not quite there. There is this area to the as I see it, to the left of him, which clearly is a leather sofa or something, where the lights hit the arms and it is a distraction. So I'm drawn to these little bright marks here. And as we know, as human beings, if you want to point people in a certain direction or suggest certain things in your images, you put bright spots or bright areas of the image in some places of the image, and that will draw to the eye. So this has drawn me to this area, unfortunately, although I would like to be able to spend a little bit more time in that space with the guy sitting on the sofa. But that said, I thought it's a really good go. It's a good take on street photography. As I said, it's a genre that I've seen people done, taking photographs of people through buses, on steamed up windows and all those kind of things, and you can really come up with a good series. So with this image, I would like to give it 15 points for this one. So well done on the person who did that. Okay, can we flip to the second?
Chris Bennett.
Okay, second. Now, I do like a bit of humour, and this is very cleverly done. Great, nice composition that you have here. I love the expression on the woman's face, you know, sitting on the horse here. I can see what you've done with the head of the individual behind, and it did make me laugh. Right, if anything else, it did make me laugh. And I think with imagery, you need to be able to provoke an emotion, no matter what the emotion is. My only suggestion, one of my suggestions on this one, is to get a little bit, maybe if you could get more of that person's face, so it does look like a floating head, that would probably make it even more impactful. But as a try, yeah, I think it's a nice enough image here, right? So I think with a little bit more work, maybe whoever, when you were standing there, maybe you could have moved around a little bit just to make it exaggerate that head a little bit more. So I'll give that score for that one 13. Go to the next one, number 3. 3 Dreams. Right, okay. So when I initially looked at this image, I wasn't taken aback by it, to be honest, right? Taking photographs of people from behind is always difficult. You know, how do you make that interesting? You know what's going on here. However, what did draw me to this was the dog, and I'm wondering what on earth is the dog. Something's captured their attention here. You know, is the dog sizing up its next present, which may be a Rolex watch that it's seen in the window? Who knows what it could be, or a bit of food on the other side. So there's a bit of a curiosity there, just by the posture of the man looking at the window. He's very concentrated on something. His partner as well, but the dog, I think, that just about makes it right. If the dog wasn't there, I probably would have passed on this one. If you're going to do images like this from behind, you really need to kind of see what is the sort of the focal point here, what you're trying to say. Also, as well, a little bit of tidying up. What is a little bit disturbing is you've got a little bit of a wonky frame at the back there of the shop, so that could be the way how you're standing. If you can go a little bit squarer than that, or sort that out in post, just consider that as well, because it does give the impression that it's a grab shot, right? And it stands out as that. So on that basis, I'll give that one 12. Next one, number 4. Right, okay. What have I written down here? Nicely framed on the final third. The expression on the busker's face is interesting, right? With the trolley there in front of him, there's some artifacts, there's some normal sort of bits and pieces that you expect in a scene like this. I can see there's almost a triangle here, and what I mean by that is the photographer taking a picture of the busker who's looking somewhere over into the distance at something, but there's that guy there walking into the shop who's side glancing at the busker. So that kind of forces me to kind of move around the image. And if you get the eyes to move around, trying to see if you can connect here with these particular people within this frame, then that does hold interest just a little bit. Right, technically it's fine, composition is fine, exposure is fine, the color palette you've used there I think is sympathetic. I've got no problems with that. And so I give this one 10. Okay, going for a fair lick. Oh, you know, this one here, I looked at this and I said, what a fantastic scene. Look at these buildings on either side of the alleyway. Look at this archway. What could be done with this space? There's a bit of light that's coming into this space. Could something else be done here? When I looked at the title and had to look at this picture a couple of times, and I had to go really close to see, oh, right, there's two ladies there holding an ice cream. You got this guy there on the right who's doing something, talking to somebody maybe there, and you got the guy there with the bicycle, which is the predominant feature in this image. So I seem to be drawn to him first because he's right up front and I can't ignore him, and I really have to then follow this through. And if it wasn't because of the leading lines of the road, I probably wouldn't have spotted the women at the back there, to be fair, on this. I would suggest, in such a lovely surroundings that you have here, I don't know how much time you had to spend here, or if you plan to go back, or maybe this is a place in Lancashire. I don't know, I doubt it. But if you plan to go back, try and you get a scene like this, try and spend some time there. Try and work that scene. Try and look for something of interest. It's so important to do that. Try not to rush. But on the whole, not a bad image, yeah, because you've got the leading lines and the arch and everything else. So this is a 10 for me. Next one, which is, right, I do like this. Something very ominous about this, the way how this guy is walking towards the camera. This looks like it was shot in Venice, but I could be wrong. He's walking towards the viewer, very strong. The hidden behind the mask. I do like this. My sort of suggestions for post-production would be, if you can shift him a little bit more to the center. That's just me being anal, because that's the way I am. But where he is, he's right on the edge. So I'm looking at the balance of the image, because we've got this space over his shoulder, over the left-hand side of his shoulder to the right that we see it. And there's not a lot going on in that space there that really sort of like pulls interest here. He is the main focus. You may be able to have held your position maybe a couple of seconds longer, so he comes up even closer. So the main focus is on him, and you may have an opportunity to see through the eye holes a little bit, some of his eyes. So that's what I would suggest on this one, and maybe push just a little bit of light in the shadows of his trousers to get a bit more detail in there. But apart from that, really like it. Strong image, 16.
Colin Yates.
Okay, 7. Drummers. Now this is curious. It's curious because of the lighting here, which I was more curious about than the people with the drums, to be honest. Was trying to find what the motivation of this light was. Where is it coming from? Were they really green on the day? Maybe, could be. The road's green. There's a lot of green going on here. Right. Tips for taking photos, taking images of large crowds. Side on, it's okay. But what is more impactful, I think, is if you actually stand in the road, facing them, and hold your ground and have them walk towards you and even fan around you, because then you're going to get some real close-up images of their faces as well. You draw the viewer into this parade a little bit further. Very colourful. I think because people are looking to the left here, it wants me to want to know what's going on over there, because there's something missing in this story here that I'm trying to sort of get to grips of. I would like to know whether this green has been added on afterwards, or this is what it looked like at the night. But I do find it a bit overpowering a little bit. But that's just an opinion on that one. Yeah. So that's 11. Right, 10. Right, this one, number 8. Okay. What I do like with this, and I don't know whether it was deliberate or you can see what you've done with this image, is firstly, I'm looking at this hand, right? So the hand, I'm following the hand down the length of the torch, see the torch is touching all the way down the other person's handle of his torch, and it's pointing conveniently to the woman who's got a hand in her face. Brilliant. Brilliant. Love it, right? Because you're using leading lines there to actually point the viewer to something else that's happening in the scene. So I'm following that around there. And also as well, this guy in the background is nicely framed between the torches. Yeah. The only thing I may add as a tip is you came very close to the wrist when you cropped it. Try not to get cropped at the wrist when we crop on limbs. Try not to do knees or ankles or anything like that, because it looks like they're amputees, or you've got floating hand syndrome. But this one, what you've done here is a good try. It's a good try. Okay, so I'm going to give 10 for that one. Well done. Next one. Red line. Okay. Now, looking at this scene as it stands, it doesn't really do much for me, to be honest. Right. However, I think you've missed something here. I looked at this image and I zoomed in into an area where I see the reflection in the mirror, on the glass, of the guy standing there in the blue jacket and the white mask. I think that's your image. I think you can get rid of that couple there because their posture, their position's not saying much. The woman at the counter, again, not saying much. But I think if you can get a close-up there of the reflection of the guy there, then there's a connection between where we are now during the pandemic. There is that sort of needs to obviously carry on living and buy food, things like bread and staple stuff like that. I think this could be a good one. And the way this would have worked, if you'd seen it, would have been crossing the road, because it looks like you're across the road at the moment. You need to be on the same side of the road and you need to get up really close. Now, these people there standing there must say, what are you doing, what are you doing? But don't be afraid to tell them what you're doing. Don't be afraid to tell that guy that's standing there what you're doing, right? And show him what you've done. But I think that I'm looking at this now, and that comes across to me to be the image in this. So on that basis, I'll give that 10. Then Belly Fall. Like this, excellent colours, very bright, very vivid. The use of smoke to obscure his face, lovely tones and the colouring here. The composition is very good. If you remember when I was talking about the eye being drawn to bright objects, you can see now there looks like something like the sun that's inside his tent. I don't know if it is supposed to be the sun, but that's a really, really bright light. If you get a situation like that, I would suggest try and burn it in post if you can, or if you notice it, maybe try and kind of adjust your position on the composition there to try and obscure some of that. I don't know whether there's an opportunity to do that in this space, but that does jump out at me, unfortunately. And if it wasn't there, I think that probably would be not a bad image at all. So I'll give them that 14. That's a good try. It's a nice image. Gossip Girls. Yeah, I like this. I like this for a couple of reasons. One, it's kind of strange when you can't see the mouth. you have to focus on the eyes because the communication switches to the eyes. We are people that look at body language and talk through body language, not just verbal, non-verbal stuff that we lock to. And I can see there is a connection between the two. Maybe it's a proximity between the two. They're in intense conversation. Yes, there's lots of photographs we're going to have, taken over the last couple of years, which are going to have masks in them. But I think as a piece of slice of history or a particular point in time, this is not a bad picture, showing how people can still get on and still carry on with their life, even with everything else is around. So that's not too bad, actually. That's pretty good. So I'll give that 12. Okay, Captain. Now, this really messed my head up. And I really want to speak to the person who put this together. Now, to me, this feels like two images that have been stitched together. And I'll tell you the reasons why. On the bottom left-hand corner, I can see the frame of the window, which has got this motif in there, whatever design as part of the image and the reflection of the building, which is brilliant. I love that. And the little bus, the red bus there sneaking into frame. So it gives me a feeling that I think this must be in London somewhere, possibly. So that builds into a nice backdrop, nice use of double exposure effect. Then I sort of move across to the right and I see this person here who doesn't look to scale with what I see on the left-hand side of this image. And they're square on, not at an angle. And then I look at the pane on the right-hand side, and that looks like a cut of probably the middle one at a slightly different angle. The windows are not exactly the same angle because they're facing me and not at an angle. So it's a bit peculiar on this one. Now, I don't know if this was intentional. If it was intentional and this is a particular style, maybe that's something you can develop on this one. But it did it did trick my eyes a little bit. I did have to question this. All right, okay. So this is what it was intentional. It's all reflection. So what is the? So I'm just looking at this angle. This line here in the bottom left-hand corner, and the shape of this pane is at a different angle to what I see in front of me. Anyway, maybe I'm looking too deep on it. All right, okay. So it is two images in the panorama. So it is what I thought it was. So it's been stitched. Right, okay. So that's fine. If you're going to do that, I think just take a little bit of care, unless it's intentional to actually say it looks obvious, try and see if you can match the angles a little bit. Because if you look at that last frame there, which is square on, it's square and it doesn't, and it's kind of jarring with the other bits, which are at an angle, which go roughly with the flow of the image. So just be mindful of that. Okay. But not bad try. 13. Next one. Right, okay. Now to look at this quite hard, right? So the only way I could connect with this would be in social distancing. I can see the irony that you're depicting here in this image. What doesn't come out strongly enough, if it wasn't for that sign that says stay safe in the background, the connection between the pandemic and what's going on in front of me wouldn't be obvious. And I had to look a little bit to the left, and then I did see that mannequin wearing a full face mask, which kind of almost like connected the two. Maybe a little bit too subtle. Maybe there's I don't know if there's another point of view in this particular scene on this road that you could take, where you can bring those artifacts at the back there a little bit further forward. So there is but still have lots of people walking around it. One of the ideas would be, I would suggest, and you can try this out, is if you can get in a little bit closer, slightly focus on this area and slow your shutter down so the people around are actually blurring around this image. So the main focus would be the stay safe, the mask, and the people around will just be a mass of people blurring that you can see going around there. It's a shame there's no people in the crowd. There's nobody in the crowd that's wearing a mask either. So that's where I sort of, at first glance, I couldn't really see where the connection was. But I like what you've done with the irony on this one. Okay, which is fine. So that's 11. Okay, like this one as well. Strong image, good close up. Really like close up images because it shows that you're not scared to get in close, right? And I don't think they're too disturbed about the distance you are here. I'm not sure exactly how far you are, but it looks, a nice distance, nicely filled out in the frame. Lovely coordination between the colours on the lady and the woman in the background, whether that's intentional or not, but it does work. We like doing those sort of things in street photography. The expressions are complete opposites to each other. Is she boring him? Is he not listening? There's so many things going in the face of these characters here, which I find it's very cheerful indeed. So that's a 16 for me.
Steve Weatherly.
This is almost like a classic piece of almost Nat Geo-esque type photography. I like this. Okay, so it's good use of leading lines with the road that goes off in the distance. The headgear that this person is wearing gives me a feeling that the sun is bearing down on them. We can see the time of day and the shadows are here. There is a lot of sun there. And you can also see the way how the donkey is burdened by all this stuff that's strapped to its back. And it looks like they've come from a long day and they're going off to the distance, maybe back to their house. It's when I was talking about shooting from behind, can be done in the right way. I think this tells a story, mainly because there's a lot going on there that holds some interest. So I think that's very well done on that one. That's a 15.
Colin Rogers.
Man down. Okay. Yeah, this one made me laugh. Mainly because the position of the guy or the person who's in the manhole there, they're like stiff upright. It's kind of a weird posture. It does add some curiosity. What's going on down there? What's all that about? Why, this guy here who's looking down on him, are they looking at the same thing? The fact he's wearing a hoodie as well, there's a bit of mystery there that I like, which is good. It's a good, well-balanced composition. Maybe straighten up slightly because I'm looking at that column on the right-hand side, which is a little bit wonky, but you know what? It's not the end of the world because the main focus is the center here. I would say if you can pull back just a little bit on the post-production on the colors that you're using there a bit. They feel a bit heavy, not too heavy, but they're on the edge. So keep an eye on that. Okay, good picture, 12. Freaks hang out. Yeah, this is kind of almost like what we call voyeuristic, not in the normal sense, but in this sense here, where you're peeking into the world through this little gap here in the walls, the graffiti walls, of what's going on behind here. And we can see there's some young people here, probably drinking, looking at that, on the phone and etc. Now, there's a couple of ways of approaching this. What I probably would have been tempted to do, a couple of things. If you wanted to keep this shot, that's fine. Consider on the edge of the ELVR wall to cut out or to crop off what's behind there, because I don't think it adds anything. It's a bit of a distraction. If you want the focus to be the archway, that's fine, but there needs to be a little bit more going on. A little bit more going on with the young people there in that archway, that doorway there, right? I can see there's a skateboard. Maybe we can do a bit of dodging in there just to get that skateboard just to lift it just a little bit, pushing a little bit of lift the shadows up slightly. But I think probably what would make a better shot than from this one, which was done from a distance, is to probably start communicating with the young people, right? Just make yourself known that you're there. Because if they looked up briefly and saw you sort of sneaking a picture like that, they may be a little bit concerned. I would step into that one. I would just step into that one and say, guys, what's going on here? Can I take a, can I create a couple of portraits of you, because that's really cool with all this graffiti at the back. I just think this is fantastic, right? And you can give them those photographs, and they can stick them on their Instagram, and they can tag you, and then it just goes on from there. So don't be afraid to approach, and you might get a better story, better image there. Okay, so that's 11 for me. Love this, love this, love this, love this, love this. Why do I love this, Wayne? Okay, why do I love this? I love this on loads of different things. Right, the frame. The frame almost has a cinematic feel, the way how the elements are placed in here. Clearly, it's in the takeaway. I can see that. The expression of the guy peering at you, giving that look, is just amazing. Eye contact, eye catch, as we call it in street photography. Those are the sort of images that you want. There's tricks of getting eye catchers, right? I can tell you one of the tricks of getting an eye catch if you're close enough to somebody is to do something like this, psst, or say, oi, and they'll look up, catch a picture, right? That's one of the ways of getting a reaction, getting a look. But this is great. I love that look. I love his posture. The bottle in the pocket, the bottle of Moe or something that he's got in his pocket, which is interesting. I think this is great. The tonality of the colours that you've used here, the shadows. I can feel the shine. I can feel the metalwork in the backsplash here and around the counter. Great. This is really, really great image. That is a solid 18 for me on that one.
Kirsty Railton.
Okay, next one. Waiting in threes. Okay. This is an interesting structure. I like the way how we've got these kind of flying buttress things going on, holding the roof up in this bus station. The arches do frame the individuals that I see, or two of them that are waiting on the platform here. But there's a lot of space here at the top, and I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of more interested in the architecture than what's really going on below. Is that a bad thing? Is that your intention? You look at the young lady there on the top bottom left-hand corner sitting in the chair, looking out into nowhere. There's nobody in front of her. That's kind of an interesting pose. Could you reposition this slightly differently? I think you probably could. Not a bad try, though. Not a bad try at all. So that one I'll give 11. Rights to freedoms. I like this as well. I like this because this does have political connotations here, and it does provoke a thought about the freedom of speech, the freedom to be yourself. There's a whole lot going on in this sign here. Vegan, feminists, environmentalists, right to protest. That sign, top left-hand corner, pointing to the calf. Is that a vegan calf? That would be a good question. But this woman's right to do what she's doing right now, is that at odds with the woman with the headscarf and maybe her background? I don't know. That provokes a thought, right? So I love the contrast here that you've done here. So that's a good catch, well spotted. Anything I would add on that one? I don't know. You've got a tight crop there to half the guy in the arm and a bit of a bicycle. I can live with that. But just be careful on that. But not a bad go, not a bad go at all. So I go for 15 on that one.
Peter Kay.
Balls, and I'm not swearing. So yes, so this is good, right? Okay. Like the links with the colours and the balls, clearly, fairly obvious, right? So it's good colour matching there. I do love the expressions of the crowds behind. I wouldn't have this sort of amount of space here on the right hand side of this guy, but because there is a bit of interest of showing the attentiveness of the baby in the pram, the grandmother, I think, with the pram, a granddaughter and other people there just looking at what this guy's doing. I think is great. It's an interesting posture of the girl with that sort of sweater and the spotted skirt there. Just the way how she's positioned, she's hunched over. That's interesting. So yeah, not a bad image. You know, composition great. There's nothing there to keep interest. So well done on that one. That's the 13. COVID hat. Right, okay. And again, there's a theme there, mask, COVID times. I get all that. Side-on views, his head's almost completely turned towards, and I think he's talking to that man next to him, which is fine. I probably would have liked it if you had swung around to the left just a little bit and get just a little bit more of the front of them. Get more of the interaction there, because that guy's looking out in the distance with the blue mask, but I'm not sure whether he's actually listening or there's any sort of connection between the two, which seems to be a little bit missed on this one. But it is a contemporary image. It does give a nod to the times that we've been in the last couple of years. I do like the muted tones that you have here. The tonality of the colour palette that you use are quite pleasant, quite nice. Not a bad image at all. That's 12. Okay, I love the expression on this woman's face, left-hand side with the roll in her hand. The title's probably a little bit misleading because that doesn't look like a cookie to me, and what the other woman's grabbing doesn't look like a cookie to me either. I say I don't pixel peep, but I just thought, well, it doesn't look very, unless they're very large cookies. I couldn't see it right. I couldn't see it there. But I love the expression. There's the clear intensity in the conversation between the two. I can see that as I move from left to right. Yeah. Because I said maybe she thought she ordered a cookie, but she ended up with rolls. So maybe that's what surprised her a little bit. It's caused the debate. Well composed, nice colour palette again. Yeah, well done, 14. Right, okay, this one here, oblivious to shoes. Clearly, she's looking at her phone, or is she taking a picture of the poster? She could be, who knows, right? And the only way you're going to know that is if you swung around a little bit behind to see what she's doing a bit. But I like that you've made a connection with the shoes. So I'm following from top to the middle and down to her trainers. That's where my line of sight seems to be going. Well, the trainers are white, so I'm pulled towards that anyway. So I start at white, there's the yellow, move down to the bottom, which is great. Then I move up, then I can see that she's looking at the phone. So there's a nice bit of movement within the frame that I can see there, which keeps some interest, right? So that's good. Good try, 14. LGBTQ rally. Right, okay. So, you know, in the LGBT community, you know, the rainbow flag is synonymous, right? This is what identifies that community about everybody being the same, everybody being equal, no matter who you are. So that's great. The only reason I know that is because I can see a couple of rainbow flags on the lanyards, and I see somebody in the distance that's got a rainbow flag. The challenge I have with this image, again, it's a crowd image, is that everybody's looking in one direction. And what frustrates me is I haven't got a clue what they're looking at, right? You know, if it's interesting or not. Clearly, it's something that is captivating people's view. Whether it's the intention to keep us hanging, that's not bad. That's not a bad idea. What I would like you to do next time you get into a crowd situation, just like I said with the drummers, is can you drop your POV down a little bit lower so it's in line with the people that you see, and can you get yourself in there, in the crowd, and get some real close-up faces of some of these people, some of these with their faces painted with a rainbow flag, and get some characters and some individuals in there, even that person there with the rainbow flag dressed over their shoulders. So I would like a little bit more of that. But yeah, That's what I'll do in that. Right. Okay. So that's a 12. Oh, I do like this one. Yeah, I do. Why did I like this one, mate? I like this one because this feels pretty contemporary here. And what the contemporary elements are for me, the phone, which is so typical for young people, heads down on the phone, right, waiting for somebody. The fact that he has a bottle of Moët or something in his pocket, so he's obviously a rich student if he's a student. So he must have spent all his student grant. He's waiting for somebody. Is it celebration? Is it a date? There's enough there to ask, to provoke quite a few questions there. Nice colour matching with his coat and the barrier. I like that, and the letters on the bin. And he seems really relaxed. The lovely reflection there in the glass that he's leaning against as well. Yeah, you can almost crop in a little bit tighter there a little bit and maybe come round and maybe set something up there, but that's good. I like the way you've got the reflection there. The lady in the background as well, holding, conversely holding the coffee, her hand in, got that sort of frustrated look in her face, like she may have been waiting for a long time, and whereas whoever she's waiting. So there's two different stories that are in there. I love the expression on that guy's face as well as he's reading whatever he's reading on his phone. So I like that image. That's a 15.
Christine Armstrong.
Window shopping. Unfortunately, this one's kind of failed a bit. Yeah, it's window shopping. Sometimes when you take a photograph, and what I do, and I'm brutal at that to myself, is I always ask myself the so what question, right? Does it meet my so what? I've taken an image, yeah, and what am I trying to say here? We've got sideways picture. You're at a distance. I can see slightly from here. They're looking in the window, can't see what they're looking at. She's looking at something, he's looking at something else. So there's kind of like conflicts there. I don't know what to look at. I think you've missed something here with this hallway in this shopping centre, because you have a leading line here. You've got reflections coming off the marble floor here that can be played with. I think with a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, reposition yourself maybe in the centre of this space, waiting for somebody to walk into a particular area, maybe on one of those motifs that are on the floor, just to give something. It needs to be something there that obviously that means something here, that has a particular story here. Too many distractions in this as well, but especially that white van in the background. Because it's white, I'm looking at the white van and kind of ignoring what's going on in front of me. So unfortunately, this one is going to need a bit more work. Just need to practice a little bit more. But I can see what you tried to do there. So that's a 10. Ooh. Now this one, if only you could have played about with this one a little bit more. So the colour matching, yeah, perfect. Yellow here, yellow door, blue here, blue walls, right? I can almost see here, unfortunately you can't see any of their faces, which is a shame. I can almost see an opportunity here to help them out, to take with a photograph of this lady. I think it's a lady with her blue hair, right? And actually deliberately place her in this doorway against the yellow door with the blue hair, and actually deliberately take a street portrait. And then in the return, do a street portrait of the lady with the yellow hair against the blue wall. That's what I would probably do. The 23 doesn't have to be there, to be honest. 23 means nothing. I think your photograph are these two individuals. And the way you're going to get that image is jumping out your comfort zone a little bit and actually talking with them. Yeah, talking to them. Because that might work. They might be up for that. You might have fun doing it. Yeah. So that's 11 for me. Where do you suggest? Yeah, like the idea. Looks like there's some people that are traveling in the city, looking at a map, looking for the next place to go. There's a lot of space on the right hand side of this woman, which really doesn't add to the image. You've got people half cut walking out the frame. There's gaps, there's spaces. The focal point is kind of distracted. There's a lot going on. You almost need a slightly more shallow shallow field here, focal length, to actually isolate them a little bit more, because there's a lot of stuff going on the back, and because it's brightly coloured, I'm a little bit distracted. I do find it interesting with the bikes and the bags on the bikes and how brightly coloured they are, and her here. So if I was going to shoot that, I'll move a little bit around to the left, maybe tiny bit square on. Might even approach them, because I quite like her here. She looks like an interesting character, and both of them actually, and actually do a street portrait of them as well. Okay, not bad. 11. Okay, under the red umbrella. Yes, the umbrella's red. This is done in one of my haunts. So when I used to take my work in London, in South Bank, I used to travel around this space around Borough Market quite a bit, so I know this space quite a bit. Got a lot of character in here. Now, what has grabbed me on this image? The image is clear to see, right? That's fine. Again, we've got this woman looking at something. We'd like to know what she was looking at there. I like the expression of the young girl there. She's kind of almost thinking, I'm cold, I want to go home while we're here. Whatever you're looking at, mum, if it's her mum, that's nice, but I'm really not interested. And clearly her brother is, if that's her brother, he's got other interests somewhere. The people in the back don't really add to it, the people on the railings. Again, I think, I'm not sure in your position here, but I would like to take this probably a little bit lower, maybe come down to the level of the boys slightly. Even from a distance you can do that. And focus a little bit more on these three individuals here in the center of the frame. Again, just watch your editing here. My tip on post-production, when you're doing any post-production, is when you move those sliders, if you see obvious changes that you think, oh, not sure about that, then you know you've gone too far. Pull back, right? Don't be afraid to pull back. Yeah, because there's some strange aberrations and things going on with the colouring on here, which could distract from this scene. But anyway, that one is a 10 for me. My Christmas bubble, yes, there's a bubble. Seen these sort of street entertainers, quite a few of them in London and other cities. Now, I think the picture, to be honest, and again, this is something to play with. I'm looking at the bubble. And why am I looking at the bubble? Because there's a sun flare that's sparkling at me. So I'm attracted more to that than the woman that's holding it. In all honesty, I'm attracted to that bubble, that sun flare. So I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if either you moved around, so you're looking at the girl through the bubble, and you get a bit of distortion there and reflection on the surroundings, whether that will make an image. Maybe something to think about. Yeah, because as it stands, there's a lot going on in the background here. You've got the pole that she's using to hold the bubble that makes the bubbles, which has actually sort of pierced the eyes of the guy at the background. Try and avoid that if you can, blinding people. Yeah, I'm looking at that, and the poor guy can't see. So I think I'm not sure how long you stayed in this scene, but you could do a lot playing around with those bubbles. Yeah, because they're big bubbles, and you can do a lot with that. So it's a good catch. But again, patience is a virtue. 11. Has he missed the bus? I don't know. How do I know if he's missed the bus? I only just realised, actually, I looked at this sign, I can see bus times. Is he looking at bus times, looking for the next bus? Is he sorting out his hair? Is he, I don't know. Connecting him to missing his bus is a bit difficult to see from this angle, from this distance, right? I don't know whether this is a bus stop on the other side of these posts, but what I would be tempted to do is obviously come round a bit near that bench where he's got his rucksack to try and get a bit more of him, and maybe the bus stop and the bus disappear in the background if that did happen, or shoot into the glass that you see that's behind the bench where I see a reflection, and maybe build on the reflection that's there as well. Something to play with, right? This space is okay. Maybe if he stepped out from underneath the arch into this space, with the long shadows that could make of a decent image. Maybe exposed to the light, drop the background down a little bit so that there's more light on him in the foreground. Maybe consider that. So for this one, that's a 10. Twins together. I've looked at this one, and I am I didn't immediately look at the mother with the two children in the pushchair. I was looking at the image, the motif at the top. I was looking at the motif at the right, the very strong. Then I looked again. I said, "Oh right, so there's two babies there. Are they twins?" Well, I don't know. Were they twins? I mean, you're quite a far distance here. You're at a distance here. I'm not sure if you know if they are or not, or maybe they are. I don't know. But where I see an image, where I see a potential here, is on the right-hand side, you see a triangle of light, yeah, going towards the bin. There's a pool of light here, and us street photographers love messing around with this kind of thing. And what you can try experimenting with is exposing to the light in this space. That will drop the exposure down on the outer edges and make them darker, so that bit will be brighter. Wait for somebody to walk into that space, and you can have that light, the transition of them from moving from dark into light, and you may have something interesting there with the backdrop of the pelican and whatever the bird is at the back. Maybe something to mess around with. Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy for that. I always look for these type of things, and I will stand and wait around for ages until somebody of interest walks into this space. Right, the color palette you've used here is nice. It's desaturated. But I am drawn to that face, that person peeking behind the tree, and what's going on the wall more than the individuals, more than what's going on in the bottom of that frame, right? So spend a little bit more time working the scene. So that's a 10. This has potential. The framing, the composition is great, right? The microphone boom points into the guy at the center, great, right? So leading lines, up the pole, down the microphone, I can see the guy, right? We'll see the cameraman, he's got his monitor in the back of the camera. Can you have done this in a slightly different way? Possibly. One of the ways to consider is maybe shooting through the monitor at the back of the cameraman's camera makes of an interesting image. So you shoot through the back. This guy could be slightly out of focus. You know, the forms there, you can connect the two images. So it's a slightly different point of view. Yeah. Again, my challenge here is some of this haloing going on. The editing that's done here, you've been a little bit too brutal. When you see this type of haloing, you need to pull back on the contrast. You need to pull back probably a little bit on the clarity. You need to be cognizant of that, because that was a little bit distracting for me. The balance of the image is not bad. It's okay. Okay. All right. So that's a 10. Having a butcher's, I think it's the next one. Not a lot of interest what's going on here, unfortunately. Yeah, there's a connection between the butcher and the motif at the back of the shop with wearing the apron, so there are kind of similarities there. There's some sort of conversation going on between the two individuals. Maybe the guy that's standing there talking to him is wondering why everything's at £3.99. That's what jumped out at me. There seems to be a lot. So could we have played on that? You know, why is everything £3.99? Yeah, this needs working a bit. I don't know what that space is like. Maybe you can do an environmental portrait with the guy behind the counter. Maybe that's something you can do. Maybe you can approach him. And sometimes when you do that, you know, what I tend to do is kind of look at people's websites, and if their images are not that great on their websites, you can probably offer your service and kind of say, look, can I do some environmental portraits for you inside your shop that they can use on their image? Quid pro quo. They get an image, you get the photograph. That's a 10. Okay, that's a 10. Okay, next image, selfies. Selfies, sign of times, people on their phones again, taking selfies. What do I like about this particularly? I thought this was interesting because again, we're using pointers here, right, in images, which I love. Yeah, so I have the rocks on the bottom of the frame here, which leads to the building at the end. So my eyes travel from left to right to the building at the end. That's interesting. Dark windows. What's going on behind those dark windows? The building, there's, I don't know if that's lens distortion, whatever. It looks a bit warped. So if you can do something about that, straighten it up a little bit, that's perfectly fine. And then if you look at the man's hand with the phone, that's also pointing towards the lighthouse as well, which I thought was interesting. So you've got 2 points of references here, which is great. I like the scenery at the back, the seascape at the back, the woman's red top that matches the life buoy there, which is nicely done. Yeah, you can see that. You know, we street photographers, we like making those kind of color connections there. The image just tells me that this is of the moment. It's a contemporary image. It's all about the selfie and this couple, the connection between this couple. So it's a good image. Yeah, I like the color that you've used there as well. So that's a 14. Right, sugar sweet break. Yeah, I think again, this almost slightly feels like a grab shot. I'm not sure whether there was a lot of time or attention spent on the framing of this. I would have been, again, you know, I like eyes a bit, so I might probably be tempted to go a little bit sort of in front of the guys slightly to get to see them or get a little bit closer. The fact that they've got bottles of or cans of soft drink on the floor, you know, I'll probably approach them and say, can I take a photograph for you guys? And can we move those cans out of the way as well? And just take a picture just from them because they're workers. They this looks like it's probably in Spain, could I guess that? Or somewhere in mainland Europe. So, you know, they could be talking to family at home. There could be a story here. There's a number of things going here. Both of them are making phone calls. So I think, again, if you can approach, sometimes making an approach would be great to make that image just pop a little bit. Okay, 38. The next one. Sorry, 12 for this one. Sorry. This one, yeah. This is on the edge with negative space here, but it kind of works, right? So I can see there is a bit of something going on between these 2 individuals. I don't know if they're related. I don't know if this guy's a passerby looking at this boy. He's looking at something else. He's got that kind of frown look on his face. Looks like he may have done a bit of burning in the background. By the things I could see a little bit of somebody emerging in the shadows. There is a bit of tension here. I can see that. I'm curious what's going through this boy's head and why this guy finds that interesting. What's this guy looking at? Has he just seen what this boy's just been looking at? What's going on over your shoulder? It does answer that question. So it's not. That's okay. That's good. That's good. So that's the 13. Low level encouragement. I can see, you know, I don't know whether this guy that's cheering on the guy in the wheelchair here, whether they're connected or just friends or whatever, but you can see he's cheering him on, try and push him on through the pain barrier, etc. in this particular marathon. Could this be done slightly differently? I think what disturbs me just a little bit, I think, is this space that I have between both of them. It's just a bit on the large side, and I'm not sure how that could be treated a little bit differently. Again, this is all about angles and giving a perception of closeness, even if it's not really there. And even if you move to the left at an angle, it'll give the impression he's closer than what he really is. But you're very able to say he's maybe able to see his expression a little bit more, and actually see him cheering on this guy. So, you know, I tend to kind of put myself into situations, step out into the road, stew to get a bit annoyed, but ask for forgiveness afterwards, right? Get in the road, get the picture, you know, if they move you on, just get out the road again. That's what I would probably try to do. I would also consider probably getting a little bit lower. Yeah, because you talked about low level encouragement. I would drop down a little bit lower, probably getting your haunches a little bit more to the same sort of level as like the guy in the wheelchair, or I would say the guy in the wheelchair. So you're looking straight at him. Okay, so that's a 13. Tangerine Man. Yeah, remember those adverts? You've been tangoed. Those of a certain age. Yeah, I love the use of color here. I love all the paint splattering. Is that the Festival of Light? Possibly, maybe he was involved in that. But I like that. The expression on his face. I would have loved to see his eyes. Actually, you're that close. Could you have got a portrait? You may have a portrait of him. Could you have had a portrait of him? Slight difference to see full face with all the paint and all that lot going on. Nice bright colours, very vivid. That's 14. Again, coordination of colours, like what you've done here. So I'm looking at the cup. I'm going down to his socks, moving up to his arm, moving up to his neck. Yeah. So there's a circle there that I'm kind of wandering around in this image. Which is okay, right? Is it enough? Is it strong enough? Well, with a little bit more work, maybe on post a little bit. That could be. There's some stuff here that doesn't add, you know, stuff on the table. This boy's head looking somewhere. Could you have waited a little bit so he actually turned his head around, so he actually filled this area here next to that pillar, or covered it? Right, that barrier thing with the rope. But yeah, it's good image. Again, I like that you've paid attention on the color coordination, so that's good. That's 14. Your chips, sir. Yeah, you know, as an image, it's okay. Yeah, what kind of saves it is the steam coming out from the oven on the counter, those humongous Yorkshire puddings that are on there that caught my interest. The guy holding the chips. Yeah, he's holding chips. That person, the high vis behind, is kind of a little bit distracting because it's high vis. If you wanted to focus on the chips, maybe consider dropping down the exposure a bit, so that, you know, the light on the owner's face is more focused on in this area of the chips and the steam coming from the oven. So again, it's just a little bit of positioning. It's a little bit of pre-composing, shall I say, when you look at the scene. Have something in your mind what you're actually looking for, and then go for it. Okay, so that's a 12. And the last one, oops, this one here, selfies in the so. Again, another, you know, sign of the times, mobile shots, mobiles everywhere. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, no, 5, 6 people holding mobiles. The clarity of this is really nice. The color of this is really nice. The composition is well weighted. The snowflakes, and this looks like it's Covent Garden, are probably fake, because I don't think it's snowed in London for absolutely ages. Unless this was done when it has snowed. People are pointing all over the place, looking at stuff. And I'm kind of thinking, again, I like shooting through panels, shooting through screens, which is another perspective. Could you swing round, go over their shoulder, and catch a picture of their selfie looking at them? Maybe, I don't know. Can you, yeah? Or this woman here, she's looking at the tree. Can you shoot over her shoulder, looking at the tree? That will be sharp in the tree, and everybody else will be blurred out, shallow field. Can you do that? Maybe. Not bad. Shadow depth of field, not bad. So that's a 15.
Brad Cheek.
It's that busker again. Now, this one kind of works better than the colour version, I think, mainly because the black and white tones that you've used here are really, really good. I love the shadows on the floor. It gives it more dimension, makes it a bit more dynamic, not flat, reflections in the glass behind him. There's a pool of light that's falling on him, so he's maybe under a lamppost, or maybe the motivator on this may be from somewhere above, which is really good. No, and the composition is there. It's a really good composition. So deep blacks and whites, people. That's what I like. It's black and white. That's good. It's not sepia. It's not grayscale. So good. Well done. 15.
Kirsty Railton.
Oh, this is another classic one, isn't it? We do love a bit of mist. Do love a bit of fog. Do also like the leading lines and the pathway. That's very good indeed. As a compositions, it's very well balanced. I like the individuals that are kind of fading into the distance. I don't know whether they're related, but I ask this question, and it's almost like a traveling through life together kind of, analogy thing going on here, right? As they disappear and blend into the backgrounds. There's a bit of mystery that's there that I really like. The diffused light through the fog always work. I do like a bit of diffused light. That's good. The tree lined path is great. Will I do anything different? Maybe I'll edge closer just a little bit, cut out some of this space that I see in the left-hand corner of the tree. There's 2 trees here, and there's a bit of light coming through, which I'm kind of looking. It kind of breaks the symmetry slightly. But you know what? Is that the end of the world? No, I don't think so. It's a really good image. So be proud of yourself on that one. That's 17.
Mike Atkinson.
Waiting for Company. Now, this has a lot of storytelling in this image. I don't know if you can see this, but I can see this, right? And I find photographing seniors, their faces always tell stories, no matter, right? His look. There is this sort of dreamlike thoughtfulness that he has going through his mind in that look there. I can see here. There's 2 cups here, right? I don't know if he's married. Has he a partner? Is his partner there? Has she passed? Has the partner passed? Has he just met with one of his children? They bought him a coffee and now they've gone and left him to his own devices. So many stories. The railing's great. Again, that's a lovely use of leading lines, because I'm just looking from left to right and it's taken me straight to his face, nicely illuminated, nice backlight there, edge light with the sun and light in the background. You've got shadow depth of field there, which isolates him from the background and actually emphasizes isolation. Good image. Well done. 16.
Paul Calvert.
Love a little vape shot. Vapes are good because you get more of a plume of mist or smoke, right? Which is good. I like this. I like the frame. I like the exposure on here. Again, I like the black and whites, well balanced. The plume of vapor coming from him, which is really effective, because that covers over the bins at the back and that fills in that space a bit as well. Just the pallets at the back. There's everything about this is an interesting image, actually. So maybe put it in a competition to see how you get on with it. 18.
Carol Weatherly.
Still not found what I'm looking for. U2 reference. I like what you've done there. Not sure about this one. I'm looking at this and looking through some records. Is there enough there to keep me interested? they need to stand out. This guy's jacket is blending a bit too much in the background here, which loses some of it. The focus is very soft, which I think doesn't help. Yes, there's a nod again to the present times with the mask, which I think is great. I'm not sure in this space whether there was other angles you can try here. Maybe again, I like the idea of coming around slightly so you can then follow the hands down to the records maybe, or go a little bit higher to see what records he's looking at, or something like that. But it's not a bad image. It's not a bad image at all, right? But it's a good stab at a 15 for me. So it's a good 15.
Carolyn Phillips.
Social pariah. This one probably not as strong as the Busker one. Same idea, using the pool light. This guy is standing out in front of this bar, having a crafty fag by the look of things. Not too happy with what you've done here on the editing on this guy's face. I don't know whether you're trying to recover some detail because of something, but there is some strange matting going on with his face on this one. His hands up to his mouth covers part of his face. I think you probably could do a stronger image than this. I think you probably do a better image. I think maybe the shot could be through the window with the couple there, possibly. Maybe another point of view. Yeah. Or could you get somebody in that archway with the door? I like that light coming out of that doorway there. Can maybe do something with that. But that's this one for me. That is 11. Lunch in the square. People eating is another tough one around people eating. So I had to really zoom in close to see what it was they were doing here. What was it going on in that dip that this guy's got in his hands, and I can't see what she's doing. I thought the little girl in the background sort of grabbed a bit of interest. She's running into the scene. Is she related to them? Or she just a child that's playing around in that space, so that fills in that space nicely. I would suggest again, if you can move to the right just a little bit, get a bit more of a face in the shot, maybe change the POV slightly. Could you stand on that plinth there behind them and shoot downwards as a different point of view, possibly? So you're looking down into the scene, maybe. But as a black and white, it's perfectly fine. Nicely balanced again, nicely balanced composition. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's a fine image. But I think maybe again, what I'll keep on saying as a theme here is work the scene. Never be satisfied with what you have until you've explored everything in that particular scene. And if it's not working, there's no shame in that. Just move on to the next thing. All right, that's 11. What about mine? God, it's always, again, people in mid-eating, you get all sorts of contortions of their face when people are eating. Sometimes it's flattering, and sometimes it can be humorous. I'm not sure whether this is flattering as such, but I think what makes this image, in all honesty, is this dog. This is what my dog does. My dog would be looking at me eating and wondering, well, that's all well and good, but you're going to share that? Yeah, I quite like that. The expression of dogs' expressions is fantastic. I'm looking at this frame, and could we go in a little bit tighter? The fact that this woman who's eating is kind of looking, she's kind of concentrating on eating, not really connecting with the girl in front of her, just feels a bit strange to me on this composition. But I would give that. So which one's this one? What about mine, isn't it? So I'll give that a 13. Okay, night food stall. Well, I've got a lot going on here. Okay, right. If I was to work this scene again personally, I would come in close enough to capture the guy maybe the guy in the white sweatshirt peering into the stall. But that's not the scene that I see right now, right? If I was to go even closer than that, I can see somebody's face on the other side of the counter looking through this display here, which looks interesting, right? Could we play around with that a little bit more? Could you come in a little bit closer here? I don't think these people here actually add much to the image. Yes, there's nice rim light coming from the light spilling out on their edges there. That's fine. But, you know, it's not giving me a lot. And there's so much black going on, they kind of merge anyway. If it wasn't for the rim light here, they would just be a bit of negative space, really. But I think I'm looking at this, I think in that square area there, that would work. And I've tried this on my screen here, but because you're from quite a distance and it's quite a high ISO there, when you do zoom in, it does fragment a little bit. But if this stall is still around, if it's near you and they're always there, I'll go and experiment with that. 12. Strong, 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 strong. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Both these images, very powerful indeed. The one on the left-hand side, the hoodie shooting through the phone box. I mean, the sort of thing that I've done this as well, shooting through phone boxes. It's that extra layer, isn't it? Right? It's that extra layer that gives a sense of dimension. You've got that first layer at the front with all the scratchings of stickers and all these kind of things going on, plus the shadowy images, very ominous image of this guy with the hoodie. Love it. I love that one on the left-hand side. And this eye catch that you have here is fantastic as well. Yeah. I don't know whether you can push a little bit of, lift the shadows a little bit in her eyes there because they're quite deep, but you know what? It doesn't matter. This is great. Got a mask. That's brilliant. Excellent piece of work. That's a 19.
Chris Bennett.
Consider on that one as well, if you can, actually, if you enjoyed doing that, I hope you're thinking about it. One thing you can consider a series of images there, because I think you've got enough there to start a series of images, a similar series of portraits looking through the post box. So maybe try that out, build on this, because I think you've got something going on here. Okay, next one, height restriction. I wasn't distracted by the title, to be honest, because, yeah, I can see that he looks slightly larger than the doorway. Yeah, but I was more interested in the character himself, what he's wearing, the outfit he's wearing, the beard, the look. This kind of screams to me as a street portrait right now, to make it strong. So, you know, he's a character enough, and I bet you if you approached him, he would allow you to take his photograph because he looks like a character. So, you know, take the opportunity when you see characters like this just to approach them and just ask them, right? I mean, what's the worst they can do? Hopefully he's not punch you in the face. But yeah, you know, but as an image, as a frame, it's fine. You got somebody's arm or something coming in the bottom right-hand corner that's cutting into the frame a little bit, slight distraction, not really adding. So you probably can go a little bit tighter or just recompose. But, you know, as an image, it's okay. But consider in the future a street portrait with characters like this. 14. Waiting for the next bus. You know, for me, the story isn't the bus. The story is this woman every day, right? And again, the mask forces you to look at the eyes to be able to see the feelings or get a sense of that person, right? You know, as I said, the eyes are the windows to your soul. I think this is a pretty classic example. I just look at her posture leaning up against the wall. I look when she's looking towards you, you can see her eyes. You know, I'm just wondering what's going on there. I want to know more about her. The bus, yeah, it happens to be there, but she is the subject on this one. And again, I think if you'd spotted her, which you have, then maybe focus just on her, forget about the bus and the people behind. Maybe as people are going on that bus, she's probably waiting for another bus. If that person with a rucksack can move a little bit further into the distance so that you can then blur them out a little bit, isolate her a little bit, I think that could be a really powerful image. So that's a 17.
Carolyn Phillips.
Was it something I said? Yeah, that classic picture of elders sitting on the bench. We all like that. We all like that. We find that I find sometimes these images could be interesting. This looks like it's done abroad somewhere. Just looking at these ladies, it looks like it's done in the Mediterranean, I suspect. The expression of the woman standing up, almost of disgust, is quite intriguing. Yeah, and whatever this gentleman is saying to her is obviously got a conversation going on. The scene as it is, I think, is good. It's good to me. Nice use of texture in the background, the black and whites that you've used here. And nice, could you have pushed the contrast slightly more? Maybe you could. Yeah, that's not a bad image. 15.
Mike Atkinson.
Great use of colours, of connection, of lines here, obviously. So it's really obvious. What you've done here with the wings of the Spitfire, what she has in her jumpsuit. Yeah, I think that works really, very well. Very, very strong image. Some people might say, yeah, but her face is blurred. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. If anything, it adds to it, in my mind. Maybe you can come a little bit tighter on the left-hand side of her, a little bit, just cut out a little bit of some of that stuff in the background, which is not really adding much on there. But as a frame, as an image, I quite like that one. So 16 for that. Well spotted.
Chris Bennett.
Man's best friend. Yeah. I like this. Again, I'm looking at the body language here. I'm just looking at this, looking at if this is the owner of the dog. I'm looking at his posture. He's obviously thinking or waiting, maybe thinking of something. The dog is kind of almost begging for attention, or even kind of saying, is there anything I can help you with? What are you thinking about? I'm here. That kind of man's best friends connection there. I kind of like that. Dogs are so loyal. Not a bad frame at all. What I probably would consider, again, from a composition point of view, is come in a little bit on the left-hand side. I don't think the stuff going on in the background, the building in the background, the other sides of this building really adds much to it because it's bright. It does pull the eye. So I would then come in tighter and get the focus on the two subjects that are in the center of this frame here. It's a good image. I like that. 17.
Chris Armstrong.
Here Comes the Girls. Sorry, Here Comes the Girls. That isn't the story. That isn't the story at all. Right? They're too far away to really make an impression or make any sort of difference in the story, to be honest. However, what I do find interesting, bottom left-hand corner, old man, head propped on the stick. What's going on there? There's your frame. There's your subject. The women there in the background, yeah, take it or leave it. The only way that will be effective is if you allowed them to come a little bit further forwards into the scene. So they're underneath the arch, this second arch here. But even then, I think, your picture's this one here, the old guy here. That's your photograph. The shape of his back hunched over, the cane that's propping up his head. There is something going on there. Either he's meditating or something wants me to know more. So again, when you assess the scene, when you look at the scene, sometimes it pays actually not to even have the camera in your hands up to your eyes because you don't see the scene, but to see the scene as you see it unfold in front of you. Have a good look around what's in front of you and then focus on what the story is here. There's your story. Yeah. So one to think about next time. So that's a 10. Happy Turkish. Yeah, you're trying to be clever, aren't you? Happy Turkish. I see that. And, right. Side view, he's wiping his mouth. She's got a bulge in her mouth and she's stuffing it, as she's putting food in her mouth. Not very flattering image there of the lady. Was this the best shot? Ask yourself that question. Was there something else that you could have done in this scene, playing on those two words, that could resonate, get a story that resonates a little bit better and a composition a little bit better? I think you could do better. Again, patience is a virtue. Yeah, you got something going on there with happy and Turkish. I see that. But maybe it's not that. Maybe it could be something else in this space. Move around that scene. Okay, that's a 10. Waiting for a friend. There's always an assumption about that is the case. How do you know that's the case? So to me, it could be scratching for a title here. There's a guy on the phone, as always, people on their phones, which is that's, you know, very prevalent nowadays. Is he interesting enough? Now, it would be interesting enough if this was composed slightly differently. As you can see, that tree invades his space. He really clipped into his leg there, his arm there, which really upsets the balance of this particular image. It's almost as if he was walking by and took a double take and then went back and just took that image. But if you spent a little bit of time to have some air between his arms and his leg and that tree, if the tree happens to be in there to frame it, maybe, just maybe, you have an image there. The tone, the black and white tones is nicely done. I like the shades and the window behind and the blinds behind, so that gives a sense of depth. But because he's looking down, because there's no eye contact, I can't connect to him. There is no connection. It's just somebody looking at their phone. Yeah. So have a think about that. Maybe there was a moment he actually did lift his head up. Maybe you could have caught him there, possibly. Maybe somebody else interesting could have sat on this bench a little bit later. 10. I do like people protesting when they don't want their picture taken, the hand in front of the lens. It's quite nice, actually. It's quite intense. He probably was pretty upset that he's shoving a camera in his face, maybe, on there. COVID, what's the story again? COVID Mills, was it called? Sorry. COVID safe food. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're trying to be too clever on that COVID safe as a title. The only thing that keeps this a little bit interesting is that I like the grain in the black and white here. I like the intensity of the hand pushed up to the front of the frame. I like that because there's a bit of tension there. What's going on below adds a bit of context, but is it important? I don't know. Maybe getting a little bit closer, make it even more tense. But watch your whites, watch your highlights here. The mask there looks slightly blown out. So it looks like there's some white something on his face. So just watch that because you lost a bit of detail in there. But that's fine. So that's a 15.
Philip Armand.
Mobile phone shots. Kind of take it or leave it. Mobile phone shots. There is an expression which is intriguing on her face, like she's bored. Maybe there's an excuse she's hearing from somebody. It could be her boyfriend making an excuse. Oh, I've heard it all before. There's a lot of discuss, really, what's going on there. Not sure if it's strong enough on this occasion. The way this has been edited as well, I don't know. I think if you did a series of images that have been edited this way, you can get away with it. I think that's fine. But I don't know if there's enough there that really captures the interest, which I've not seen before. People on mobile phones we've seen before. Can you do something different with that subject? Challenge yourself. 11. we can have long debates about homeless people, beggars, be it real or professional, etc. But that's a debate for another occasion. I tend to steer away from these type of images, mainly because of the backstories of some of these, especially in London on this bridge. I know this bridge well. You get quite a few professional beggars here, etc. And you're lucky that, so I don't know if this is a professional beggar, but sometimes they do kind of go at you for some money for taking their picture. But telling stories about, people wanting, or needing, a place to stay, needing food, needing shelter, and all these kind of things, you need to be thinking, can I tell this story in a way that hasn't been told before? Yeah. The fact that his face is down, the fact that he can't see you, makes me believe this is a grab shot. No real connection, really easy to do, right? You just snap and you're off. You'll never know, right? So just think about when you do shots, when you take shots of homeless people, and what you're trying to achieve on that. Yeah, that's a 10. Yeah, just off Carnaby Street, notice this animated sign, great meeting place, especially at night. Now, what I would have been tempted to do maybe is crop this. No, maybe not, because you're quite tight here. You've got these two ladies going out of frame. I think the main focus is the woman, the man coming around the corner. He seems to be pointing towards the image, or maybe not. Yeah. Yeah, I could see why your crop wouldn't work, because it's quite close there. And this is positional thing, right? So if you can't crop, cropping is usually something that you do when you're trying to stress a certain narrative, or you may have kind of not quite got your positioning right and you're trying to save it a bit, right? But there's, cropping is not a bad thing. It's not a bad word if done correctly. But what I like here is the shadows, the light, the rim light coming off his hands, off his thumb, which is emanating. The main motivator of the light is coming from the neon sign. I would love to probably have dropped the ambient light down just a little bit. And you can do that by exposing to the lighter areas a little bit, drop the ambient light down a bit so the background goes a little bit darker, so the focus then becomes on the lighted areas, maybe. That post, I know it's an annoying post to have, the one down the bottom there, because it's kind of cut her foot off. But again, that's a positional thing. But it's not a bad image, not bad, not a bad image at all. So that's 15. Great tones.
Brad Cheek.
There is there's a lot going on here, right? So where do I start with this? Come in, we're open. So you're playing on that. So you're connecting the fact that the stalls are open, and hopefully that's going to attract my attention to the right, which it has, because there's a lot going on there of the stall being open. But I see a different frame, and maybe that's my eye. There's a couple of frames here. There's something going on with the dog and the guy on the left-hand side there, which is interesting. I don't know if that dog's doing something with his nose, but I'll leave you to kind of leave that thought with you. But that's just an aside. But the other frame that I see is more in the center here. This is this girl, her posture here. This girl looking, there's something, almost feels there's a sense of loneliness there. This girl's on her own, nobody else around. Who's she with? I can't see the connection here. Where's the parent? And there's the old guy there looking through the store. I don't know if it's a stall owner. And I can almost see a square here with these two individuals in here a little bit, as a frame in itself, cutting out what's on either side really, and that sign. As a scene, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But I think there needs to be a focal point. The focal point is looking at the sign, but after you look at the sign, you look to the right, it's like, okay, so yeah, it's a stall scene. So maybe, I don't know this space, but maybe working around the space, maybe around the side of the church, there's an alleyway there, maybe you can capture somebody. going down that alleyway. Maybe there's some other areas. There's an archway of the church there. I can see as well in the background. Maybe you can play with that as a frame. There's different things you can probably do in this space. It's an interesting scene, an interesting space. Lots of shapes and lines here. Maybe have a play of that, I think. Yeah. So that's 11. There's something about this image, looks like it's shot on film as well, which is really great. There's a texture, it's very visceral what I can see here. I like the wordings. You can see this is all about what's currently important to us now. Maybe in the bygone era, in the early 70s, late 60s, it was all about Vietnam. It was all about freedom's rights movements. It was all about protests in the 80s. This has got a kind of a particular feel about it, which is almost timeless in its sense. Yeah, the blacks that you've got there, the distortion, the grain that's pushing it, the dirty flicks that you can see on the film itself, which I think adds to this image. Great image. I like it a lot. What's interesting here is this pool of light that's appearing on this woman's face that I can see on there. Interested to know what's going on here, because I'm focused on this one. But yeah, this is strong. This is strong. So well done on that one. 16.
Dan Stott.
As a scene, it's okay, right? Nice bit of seascape going on behind. You've got these two individuals standing at the front, having a conversation, deep in conversation. Does it hold my interest enough to want to keep on coming back to it? I'm afraid it doesn't, and I'm just wondering. Again, is there another point of view that could be taken on this one? I can't see too much of this guy's face on the left-hand side, because he's kind of half looking away on this one. Nice light I can see here coming off the jacket there, the shadows. Really, really, really nice light, the way how you captured that. But as a story, I think there needs to be a little bit more going on here. Okay, so that's 11 for me. We all like pigeons, very Hitchcock-esque, shall we say? Yeah, we all love crazy birds chasing people. You're on mute there, Karen, if you're talking. This is interesting, right? So the birds are moving, gives a sense of movement. They're surrounding her. She's at the center of the shot. There's some dynamism going on here, which is wonderful. Movement and flow and rhythm, which is really, really good. I know with pigeons, it's one of those things, right? You've got to catch them in the moment, but you can stage this a little bit by waiting for them to settle, then stamp your feet and get them to fly again, because they will do when they drop to the floor to pick up the seeds. If you want to get that shot again, just kind of make a noise and then you get them flying. So that's easy to stage that slightly. What I would have liked maybe is to get that lady's eyes looking at eye catch. That would be really, really strong, especially how the wings of the birds are framing her head as you see it right now. That would be quite powerful if you've got that done. But as an image, as a sense of movement, I think you've captured that. I think you've captured that really well. So that's a 17.
Misha Bennett.
Running for a bus. So I've looked at this, and what I found was curious was the guy with the camcorder taking a photograph or videoing you, taking a picture of him, taking a picture of you, taking a picture of him, we can go around in that circle. The woman that's coming into frame there on the right-hand side, there is a sense of urgency I can see there. I can see the movement in there, nice use of slow shutter speed there of the bus moving by. So again, that sense of movement. can be felt on here. I'm kind of wondering, could you have gone in even closer to the point that you eliminate that lamppost, which is a bit distracting, and then count that lady's foot? This is all hindsight, right? I mean, this is all in the moment, but this is something to think about in the future. If the frame's a guy sitting there and the bus behind the bus is the backdrop, what I'll be looking for is, can I get that lady that's walking into frame, catch her mid-stride on the left-hand side of him, as I see it here on this frame, so she's going out of the frame with the bus moving behind. And to put those elements together does mean you have to be hanging around a long time for all those things to come together. I get that, but some of that's the fun of it, some of that's the challenge of it. But as it stands, I think it's a well composed image. And nicely done there. So that's 15.
Mandy Foreman.
I'm attracted by shiny objects again, and the shiny objects is railing, not so much the guy that's sort of in the distance there. The title of this is Through the Ramp. So this is the ramp it looks like you're standing on. I don't get a sense of inclination as much. So I'm wondering, could you play around with the reflections a little bit more? Can you drop your point of view lower below that railing, unless that railing is actually leading to somewhere of interest? Move below it and try and capture somebody walking between the posts, but get some reflection and shadows going on there, and play around with the light a little bit more. I think what's going on in the foreground is kind of taken away a little bit of what you're trying to achieve. If you want to get the inclination going, maybe you need to show a little bit more of the ramp, if that's what is your intention. But I'm looking at this guy here and I think, well, it looks interesting. And I like the way how he's kind of blurred in the background, and there's kind of a semblance of him going through the glass, and maybe something could be done here and played around there. So again, if you've got access to this space, maybe spend some time here and see if you can come up with something. That's all part of the fun of it. Okay, that's a 10. Now, this would be a great image if just taken slightly differently. Are any of you aware of the photographer Fan Ho? And especially his famous image is called The Construction in Hong Kong. Construction in Hong Kong, if you look it up on the Google machine, shows silhouettes of workmen putting together on a construction site, putting together scaffolding, other bits and pieces on there. This kind of reminds me a little bit of that. It would be probably even more powerful if we can cut out what's going there. I know this building's curved, so it's a bit difficult. What's going on in the left-hand side here, which is a slight distraction, focus on the people on the balconies, expose to the lights so they're all silhouettes, and just see the shadows of them kind of scattered across this. I think that probably make an interesting pattern, especially if we can get lower down maybe, or at a sort of level that you can get all three levels in, so you're looking square on. I don't know if it's possible with this building, but that's what I kind of see. But I think there's something you can do here. Again, I don't know whether that is Lord Mayor's building in London or somewhere, but maybe have a go again next time you get access to that building. So that's a 12. I'm scared too. So am I. I'm scared to ask because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to ask here. Now, because I've looked at this in a lot of detail, I can see that this lady there with the animal print jacket is bent over, and it looks like she's talking to a little person in front of her. Can't see the little person. If the little person is the scared person, I can't see the connection. I can't see who she's talking to. You've lost the essence of that storyline there, unfortunately. Right? You've also put in Primark in there. Not really necessary. Primark is not in this image. It's almost a throwaway comment. Yeah, there's an interaction. There's something going on here between those two. And if that child is having a tantrum, right, then capturing that is probably the photograph. So I think on this one, although you've got the three elements nicely lined up as a composition, it looks great. Black and white is nice detail in the sky. As an image, technically, it's okay. But you just missed it. And again, this is, and we all go through that. Yeah, I've been through that. It's like, oh, too scared to get close. One, there's kids involved. I don't want to take pictures of kids, so I'll take pictures from behind, obscure them a little bit, and maybe I'll get away with it. I don't know. Yeah. So just kind of spend a little bit more time. Again, question yourself when you produce the image. Is this actually resonating? Is this actually the story I'm trying to tell here? Because I think it's just got lost because she's covering the child's face. So that's a 10. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Love it, love it, love it. Absolutely amazing shot. Composition, perfect. Proximity of the subject, perfect. Expression of her face, the blur, the hand movement, she's moving the cigarette from her mouth. So there's a bit of energy there. As she turns around, obviously she's looked, you've caught her, your eyes, you caught each other. She's in mid-flow in exhaling or inhaling, right? Great. The lamppost along the bank here there that kind of leads into the distance. The form of the person slightly blurred in the distance. I can see there with maybe a suitcase or something that they're pulling behind them, but it's her expression. The light that you've caught here coming through between these two posts that is given the edge light. You can see on the edge of her hair, I think is gorgeous. I think it's really, really, really good. The color tone, the balance here. This has the makings of a classic image in my mind. I think you should be proud of this one. This one's also a 19.
Brad Cheek.
Yeah, okay. This looks slightly different on this screen here. It's a bit more closer up. The other one looks a bit further away, but maybe it's just because it's bigger on my screen here. Lights. Is that the story? The lights? Maybe that's what it is. The reflection of the child in the window of the train or the bus, I think is endearing. And I think is the image of the reflection of the child looking at himself. There is the innocence there, which I just loved, that awe of excitement, that kind of, wow, what's going on outside is brilliant. Blackpool, nice a bit. I've been there. My grandkids live up in Leyland, so yeah, I've wandered up there on occasions. This is good. I like it. As I said, I like the reflections, the way you split screen here, the child's face here. I will be tempted to maybe dodge that reflection a little bit and sort of brighten it a little bit, bring it out just a tad, and maybe drop the exposure slightly on the fore image of the child's face that is prominent here a little bit, so that you're drawn on the reflection just a tad. But it's a good image, strong, very good. 16.
Paul Calvert.
Yeah, I love the junkster position on this one. Yeah, amusements abused. Yeah, she does look amused, doesn't she? What would I suggest? Couple of things. Technical, easy. We all do that. Easily done. It usually happens when we just maybe need to spend a little bit of time in her composition. She looks like she's doing an impression of a unicorn with a pole coming out the top of her head. If we can avoid those type of things, that'd be nice. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to do anything in Photoshop on stuff like that. So that is positioning there. So maybe there's an opening a little bit further around to the right, looking over the boy's head, looking directly at her, where you might be avoid some of that stuff going around. Possibly, I don't know, because I know it's on the merry-go-round and stuff, so it might be quite difficult. But the way you've got the handrails here, which frame her head, Looks nice, and I think the expression is it just tells 1,000 words really. She really loves her job, which is clearly to be seen on that one. Good image, well caught. Just mind those little details there. It's 15.
Alan Phillips.
Break time. This one, I think the character here for me is the guy with a tattoo sleeve. That's interesting. That's my focus. The two guys talking to each other are doing something left of the frame, not really interesting. I think for me, the cut of the composition is the guy looking back at you and the guy looking away. I think that those are the two subjects within the frame, I feel, may work there, because then there's almost like a, there's a triangle there where you're looking at this guy looking at something over there and he's looking at you looking at him, which I think is always interesting. Get people in the circle within the images, within that space. So, if this could have been recomposed slightly differently, I think this would be strong. The color tone here is bordering grayscale. I like a bit more blacks in here, a bit more tonality in here, if you can, on this one. As a subject matter, it's okay, but it's not amazingly strong. But that looks like an interesting space, because that building at the back looks interesting with the textures and the walls. So that's the 13 for that one. Light box. So like a moth, like most photographers, you're drawn to the light. I could see that, which is good, but you kind of bottled out, right? So there's too much going on in the foreground, which really doesn't add much. The lights in the tree kind of disturb me slightly, but maybe they could be played with slightly. I would be tempted to go around, face that building square on, and literally wait for and expose again to the light. Wait for somebody to walk into that pool of light that's coming in there. Maybe drop down the exposure a little bit, so it gets even darker. So the only light that's coming out is the ambient light coming out the window, and then sort of pouring on to whatever walks into the frame. And you may need to do that a few times and try and cut out some of this, some stuff like lampposts and just bits that really don't add to what's going on here. But you have a backdrop there. So again, if that's near you, give it a go, right? See if you can find something interesting walking into that space, and you use it as a light box, as you said. So that's 11. What are you having? Again, similar to the sort of the chips picture we saw in the color stream here. What is going for this is the tonal range on there. I like the treatment that you've done with the black and whites. That's perfect. The use of reflections and diffuse light with the steam coming off the food is also good. But my connection is going, because it says what you having sounds like she's talking to me, but she's not really. She's kind of ignoring me and doing something else. So I don't feel like I'm being spoken to in this. But as a scene, it's okay. All right. Connection with humans, because we like to connect to other humans, is really important if you can, especially if you're this close. Yeah, it's pretty worthwhile getting her to turn her head a little bit to say, look, can I take a photo? Can I create an image of you of this space? She might be up for it. Yeah. So that's a 12. Battered base, man. Yes, the base is battered. Yes, it is. The guy with the headscarf, with the headgear, is what interests me. I would love to have seen his face. You still could have got the base in, again, by swinging around to the other side of him so you can see his face. So it's a composition challenge that we have here on this one. If you just want to show the base, then just focus on the base. But I'm looking at that. I mean, that headgear he's wearing is interesting. I want to know more. So could you do a little bit more with that? That guy there sitting there with a moustache looks completely disinterested as a tourist. Oh, here I am, another busker, wants money off of me. I'm going to ignore him. So I get that. We've all been there. But yeah, can we have a little bit more of a story here? Okay. Next one. That is 10. Yeah, I like the use of silhouettes that you have here as a scene. That's great. If I look at this image from right to left, I'm following the lines of the railings, the way how they curve and lead up to the woman leaning off, who's looking into the distance, which that pose is always great when people look out to sea. You're always wondering what they're thinking at the time. And then I carry on past the telescope, past the windmill in the back, and got this guy taking a picture there. For us to work as a silhouette, they really have to be a silhouette, so it can even be a little bit darker so you don't see too much detail. I know he's wearing glasses, I can see that's on there. But as a frame, as an image there, the black and white you use here is great. The use of leading lines is great. The overall scene is nicely weighted. I think it's okay. I think it's okay as a scene. So 16.
Alison Townley.
Last but not least is Sheffield. Again, I really, what drew me to this was the guy in the Mac with the bald head, frankly, because that could have been taken in the 1950s. If you cut out the two women that are walking on the right-hand side, this looks to be the subject. Again, I know we're shooting from the back, but there's something about that, right? And what you probably could do, slightly different composition, move over to the left a little bit, is use the top edge of the railings of the fence there as a leading line, which is leading from old to new, so leading to the point of the construction there. So how can you have done that? Well, what you could have done maybe is probably follow this guy a little bit stalky, a bit weird, but maybe try it out. Wait for these women to disappear out of scene because they don't really add anything to this. Isolate him by himself because it makes this a timeless picture. Actually, the way how he is right now kind of connects to that old building behind the hoarding here, right? It looks like he's from that era, from that time. That's what it feels to me. Yeah. And the new buildings at the back, there's a nod to that because the railings would lead to that. You probably don't even need John Lewis there, so maybe you can come down a little bit lower and cut out John Lewis department store at the back. Maybe, I don't know. But I think this image is interesting, especially with this guy here. I think so well done on that one. That's a 16. That's my lot, I think.
Peter Kay.
The phone box, very clever. That really grabbed me. I thought that was absolutely brilliant.